Hello, listeners, followers, subscribers. This is Brandon Elrich with Brandon Elrich is So Gay. This is episode 23 of season 1. And before we go on, I want to remind you that this is a listener and reader supported publication. So I would appreciate if you would become a paid subscriber so I can continue to provide this content. You can click on the link in the podcast notes. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee QR code that you can use. I appreciate anything you can help me with if you have the means to do so. Even if you don't become a paid subscriber, at least subscribe to my Substack publication for free. So let's get into it. I've been doing my Midwest Pride tour that I've been talking about for a couple months now, I guess. And I started out in Kansas City a couple weeks ago. That was my first stop on the tour. It's the closest big city to where I live, so naturally, and well, of course, because of the dates, that worked out well for me. So I went to the parade that morning. It was on Saturday, and there was a chance of rain, but it was less than a 50% chance at the time I looked at it, but it did end up raining. That was on June the 7th. And it just poured down rain. So I went to the parade, and I saw a few trucks go by, and that was it. That was for some reason I thought, well, is this it? Is this the end of the parade? It was very short. And then in the distance, I saw some more coming. So I'm like, oh, okay. That was good. But I was on the Gen Xe podcast to show them the parade. And when I went live, there was no parade. But shortly after, some more floats and bands and stuff started coming down the street. I'm not sure the reason for the big gap. Maybe they were talking about the weather or whatever. But after a little while, it just started to pour down rain. I mean, it really, everybody got really wet. And all the band members, they had their instruments wrapped in plastic and stuff. But they kept going. The parade didn't stop. It didn't stop people from watching. There were still people on the side of the street with umbrellas and ponchos. And I took cover under the awning of a cafe, and I could easily still see the parade from where I stood. So that worked out. By the time the parade ended, not long after, I guess. No, actually, it was before the end of the parade. It stopped raining. So me and my friend Allie made our way down to the Pridefest entrance. So we got there, and I had a small backpack. She had a small purse. They told us both of our bags were too big. I guess maybe I missed that on the website or something, but the bags we were carrying were not very large. But they said they were too big. Okay, fine. So we go back to our car and empty our bags out. You know, I had some stuff. I had an external charger I wanted to bring with my phone and my earbuds and my microphones. I had little lapel mics that I was planning on using. I just had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to carry with me. And of course, I had to try to carry all that stuff without a bag. So we walk back to the entrance. And so the first time we got there was no line whatsoever. We were just able to go right up to the gate, and of course they turned us away. By the time we went to the car and came back, there was a long line, naturally. So of course we stood in line, and as we were waiting in line, we noticed a girl in front of us that had a bag that was definitely bigger than the one Allie had. And she said, just wait. We'll get up there and they're just going to let her in with that bag. And sure enough, that's what happened. She wasn't very happy about that. But I'm guessing just because of the long line and turning people away, they probably just got tired of it and said, oh, come on in. But they were checking bags anyway, so I don't know what the problem was with the size of the bag. I don't know why that mattered, because everybody was emptying them out. They were checking bags anyway. Anyway, it wasn't that big of a deal. I could still carry the stuff I had with me. But it was pretty inconvenient. So we got in, and of course, after that huge downpour of rain, there was mud. The grass was wet. It was kind of a mess on the lawn. But the good thing about Kansas City was that there was a lot of shade. There were a lot of trees. It was right across the street from a museum in Kansas City, Nelson Atkins Art Museum. And there was this big lawn and a few benches and trees and stuff. And so the shade was really nice, because in some years prior, it has been pretty hot. So the shade was nice, but it also helps prevent the mud from drying up. So there was a lot of mud. My beautiful rainbow shoes, oh, they got all muddy. I had to wash them when I got home, but it came out okay. So anyway, I did a live broadcast while I was at Pridefest. I went around to a few vendors, and I talked to a couple of the corporate sponsors. A lot of people didn't want to go on video. Some of them said they had to talk to their PR person or their media representative or whatever before they were allowed to go on any kind of video or anything. But I did talk to a few local vendors, and they were very happy to promote their business and tell me about it and everything. So I thought, okay, that's great. So I started the live, and I went to those people that I had talked to beforehand. I talked to a church that was very accepting and affirming in the LGBTQ plus community. It was really cool. I was able to talk to a representative from T-Mobile, an employee from T-Mobile. He may not have really known what he was doing. He probably would have had to talk to his PR person too, but he went ahead and spoke on the video, which was great. T-Mobile was one of the main sponsors of KC Pridefest this year. Actually, they've been one of the main sponsors for the last 7 years, I believe. And I was on there I was on the video for like 2 hours, and had a good crowd watching the video. They were interacting with me. It was really great. I didn't have a whole lot of time just to walk around and look at things myself. I was basically working most of the time. So after I got doing all that, we went home. Then this past weekend, I went to Ozarks Pride Fest in Springfield, Missouri. That was on June 14th. Drove down there. Same thing. I talked to a couple people beforehand to see if they'd be willing to go on live video with me. I went to a church booth, and this lady was doing free face painting. So I said, "Hey, can I come back in a little while and have you paint my face while I'm on my live video?" She said, "Oh yeah, sure." And so I did that, went back, and she painted a beautiful cat on my face, around my eye. It was great. She was a very talented artist. And while I was in the chair talking to her and on my live video, I just asked her about the organization, the church, and everything. And she was talking about her daughter who had come out to her, and she basically, her daughter told her that she was bi because she was afraid to tell her that she was gay. I mean, not exactly afraid, because she did come out to her, but she thought telling her that she was bi might kind of soften the blow. And I could relate to that because that happened when some of my friends found out I was gay. Actually, I don't know if I should call them friends, acquaintances. There was a former youth pastor and his wife that found out that I was gay, and they kind of confronted me about it. Almost basically had a kind of a gay intervention. Wasn't fun, but I thought if I tell them that I was bi, maybe that wouldn't sound so bad. And he said, "Oh, well, I heard that was worse. It's harder to turn a person straight from being, it's harder to turn them straight from being bi than it is from being gay." Which, first of all, turning anybody from either one is pretty much impossible. But I don't know. He didn't know what he was talking about. Anyway, so I related to her about that. In my mind, it just sounded like maybe it would be a little better. But the lady painting my face, she said she had no problem with her daughter being bi or gay or whatever. She had been an artist for many years and knew a lot of people in the LGBTQIA plus community. So she was completely accepting. Her daughter said, "I have something to tell you, and important to tell you." And she's like, "Okay, what is it?" She said, "I'm bi." And she's like, "Okay, but what important thing did you want to tell me? Because that's no big deal. I'm fine with that." And she said they had been going to a church that was less accepting of that, people in our community. So she started going to this church, and of course they're more accepting and believe that all love is divine. Their motto was, let's see if I can get it right. We're not for everybody because we're for everybody. And if you think about that, hopefully you get that meaning. Some people aren't going to want to go to that church because they're accepting of everybody. And there are a lot of religious people who don't want to accept everyone. They stand in judgment of many people because of their race, sexual orientation, whatever it is. It's sad, but it's true. So I had a great conversation with her while she painted this beautiful cat on my face. I talked to a couple other vendors there. I showed part of a drag show. If you want to see all this, by the way, I uploaded the live video onto my publication. You can see it. I think it's called Live at Ozark Pridefest or something like that. Something about Ozarks Pridefest. So I had a great time there. I went by myself. I was there for several hours. They had a taco truck there, which I got. Oh, and the parade. I forgot about the parade. I went there. I first attended the parade at, I think it started at 11:30 in the morning or something. And Saturday, the 14th, was, of course, also the day of the military parade in Washington, D.C., which coincided with all the No Kings protests. So when I pulled into Springfield, I went to the downtown area. I saw several people lined up on the side of the street. I wasn't sure what they were there for. Being in Springfield, Missouri, being in the Ozarks, that's typically associated with hillbillies, hicks, that kind of thing. It's a very rural. I mean, Springfield itself is a decent sized city, but the area around is more rural. So I kind of expected more protesters against Pridefest. So I go in there, I see one big pickup truck with a couple flags sticking out the back, and I think I saw a Trump sign in one car. But other than that, I didn't see anything else like that. Most of the people lined up on the streets had signs about no kings and stop Cheeto Mussolini and those kinds of things. So that was nice to see. There was a pretty big section of the parade that was dedicated to the No Kings protest. Also, I've got I put up an article about that, and I posted several pictures that I took of the parade and of myself and my fabulous outfit and my face painting. I had a really good time. It was great. I didn't see any protesters against Pridefest, and I really kind of expected to see some in that area, especially. I didn't see any at Kansas City either. It was kind of a surprise to me. So this weekend, I guess that will be tomorrow, since I'll post this on Friday. Tomorrow I'm going to Topeka Pride Fest. I think they call it Topeka Pride Palooza, actually. I will be broadcasting tomorrow evening. So their Pride Fest is from 6 to 10 in the evening. I guess from their website they say they want to try to beat the heat. And they're going to have a splash pad there. Being in the evening, it'll be great. Haven't decided what I'm going to wear yet, but it's going to be something different from last week and the week before. I'm wearing a different outfit every Pride Fest I'm going to, doing my hair different. So I'll be in Topeka, which is the home of the Westboro Baptist Church. If you're not familiar with the Westboro Baptist Church, it was founded in the 1950s by a pastor named Fred Phelps. This church is infamously known for their hatred. They protest gay people. They're anti-Semitic. They protest different funerals of, well, they went to like the Sandy Hook Elementary victims, protesting funerals there. They protest funerals of soldiers, of people who are in the LGBTQIA plus community. They're just ridiculous. So Fred Phelps died in 2014. So they're not as, what I want to say, they're not quite, so they don't have quite as strong of a presence as they used to. I guess you could say they're not as hateful as they used to be without their ridiculous leader. But they still protest. They've been kind of condemned by Southern Baptist Association and even President Barack Obama. But I expect that they probably will be somewhere near the Pride Fest tomorrow. So not particularly looking forward to that, but I'm going anyway. I might even talk to one of them. Who knows? I'm not sure. I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I was I was thinking about talking to one of the protesters at one of these Pride Fest events if I found one. So far, I haven't found one, so that's a good thing. But one reason I was thinking about talking to them is to kind of show viewers firsthand what it's like to be part of this community, what it's like to be gay in rural America, to see firsthand the hatred that some people have for us. Because I don't think some people really get it. You can hear it on the news and you can hear it from other people, but to see it face to face, to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, it's a little different experience. It kind of puts it in a different perspective. But on the other hand, I also don't want to give them a platform to spread this hatred. Now, I would assume that most people listening to my podcast would not agree with them. So I would hope listening to them wouldn't change someone's mind to agree with them. I wouldn't think so. I mean, they seem pretty woohoo out there. They don't have very logical arguments for why they hate. So we'll see. I may just decide at the last minute. It depends on how they come across too. If they are completely if they're loud and obnoxious and don't seem very rational at all, I probably won't talk to them. I think you can have discussions with some people even if you don't agree with them. And part of it is if somebody hates a certain group of people, it's most likely that they don't understand them. When you actually meet someone that you don't agree with, talk to them face to face, it's more likely to create empathy. When you see them on TV or in movies or just hear about them, it's easy to distance yourself from that person, from that group of people. When you're talking to someone face to face, you may tend to have more understanding. You may be more receptive to listening to what they have to say. So that's the other part of this. Could I possibly talk to one of these people and plant a seed? Now, I probably won't. In a short conversation that I would have with someone, I may not change their mind. I may not change their whole ideology. I may not change years of being brainwashed, indoctrinated with hate, but I may get them to think. I know for sure that they're not going to change my mind. There's there's just no way that's going to happen. So I'm very resolved, but are they? Do they know why they're doing this? Do they know why they're protesting? Do they know why they hate other people? Why they insist that they're going to hell or that they shouldn't have rights like everyone else? Have they looked within themselves? Do they have any kind of introspection about their feelings, about the reasons behind their actions? If they haven't examined their true feelings, if they haven't had that kind of introspection, maybe I could wedge a little doubt in a crack or two. Maybe I can break them down. That may be optimistic thinking. But if I change one person's mind, if I plant a seed of love instead of hate, wouldn't that be worth talking to them if that happened? I don't know. What do you think? I think if we stick to talking to only people that agree with us, we're not going to change the world. I've heard some people say that they no longer talk to people who are Trump supporters, or um, they completely disown family members who voted for Trump or who are Republicans or whatever. I'm not going to criticize them for doing that, but also, how are how are we going to change the minds of anyone who we believe are restricting our rights, who are breaking down the moral fabric of humanity? If we stick to talking to only the people that agree with us, isn't that kind of divisive? If we're not able to have discussions, intelligent, rational discussions with someone who disagrees with us, how is change going to happen? I'd like to hear your thoughts about this. Please weigh in the comments section. I love when people leave comments. Um, I haven't had any hateful comments. So, and that's, by the way, that is not a challenge. Please don't leave hateful comments. But if you have something significant to say, well, not necessarily significant. If you want to just say, "Hey, great episode, loved it," I'd love to hear that kind of thing. I would love to hear any kind of feedback you have. But if you'd like to contribute to this discussion, I would really appreciate that. Tell me your thoughts. Also, I want to remind you to subscribe, click the like button. I want to give a shout out to anyone who is an iOS user. If you have an Apple phone, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I was looking at my stats, and more than half of my listeners come from downloads from Apple Podcasts. I don't have an Apple phone. I don't have an iOS device. Mine's Android. So I can't look at it on the Apple Podcast to see how it's listed or what it looks like or anything. So I'm very appreciative of you if you were an iOS user. I would also really appreciate a paid subscription through the end of June. I have a link called Pride Month Special. You can click on that and you can pay $4 a month or $40 if you want to pay for an entire year. That, of course, is the better deal. But even if you pay for just 1 month and downgrade to a free subscription, every little bit helps. I'm completely fine with that. You can also, if you have the means and you want to support me more, you can subscribe at full price. It's $8 a month or $80 for the entire year. Either way, I really appreciate you listening to my content, subscribing, interacting with me. So with that, I hope you tune in to my live video. I should be broadcasting at 7 p.m., around 7 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. It starts at 6 o'clock. The Pride Palooza starts at 6 o'clock. But I want to make sure to get there and kind of scope out what the vibe is and see who might be able to talk to before I actually go live. So I figured I'd give myself an hour to do all that and then go live at 7 o'clock. I don't think there's a parade. At least I didn't see anything about that on the website. So I'll just go to the Pridefest event. That's all I can think of for this episode. I'll sign off for now. And until next time, say goodbye, Zach.